A breakup with a fearful avoidant that leans heavily dismissive can be one of the most painful ones to go through. Not all fearful avoidants are cut from the same cloth. Fearful avoidants have disorganized attachment, meaning they have both an anxious preoccupied attachment style as well as a dismissive avoidant attachment style. It comes largely from childhood. This is a person that did receive emotional neglect in childhood, but they also experience sometimes volatility, chaos, sometimes in some cases even trauma or even capital T trauma. Now what happens is they develop both an anxious attachment as well as a dismissive avoidant attachment style. But their core wound is betrayal. In some way, shape, or form, one of their parents or both betrayed their trust as a child. So they have this deeply rooted belief that love equals pain, love equals betrayal. They want love, they feel deeply. Unlike dismissive avoidance, they do generally recognize and understand their own emotions. However, when it comes to deactivation, shutting down, it can really appear to be very similar to a dismissive avoidant. Some fearful avoidants will lean heavily anxious, and they really tend to be largely anxious attachers with an avoidant side. But the ones that lean dismissive are the ones that are completely emotionally unavailable in relationships, although they can appear to be emotionally available early on. The relationship with a fearful avoidant that leans dismissive generally starts out like a whirlwind. It is intense. You feel like you have a connection and a chemistry that is out of this world. They are often quick to put a label on the relationship and try to progress the relationship. But as the relationship progresses, this person is now becoming hypervigilant, looking for any inconsistencies in you. Inconsistencies that would validate their subconscious fear that betrayal is imminent. Sometimes manufacturing inconsistencies where they don't exist. If you're determined to find an inconsistency in someone, you're gonna find it because no human being is perfectly consistent all the time. Now, as these inconsistencies bottle up, their fear of betrayal is going through the roof, and their urges to exit the relationship and to justify and validate their fears and desires to exit the relationship are going through the roof. But they may or may not be communicating this with you. In most cases, the more dismissive they lean, the less likely they are to even communicate any issues with you. And you think everything is wonderful. You think everything is great. They're telling you how happy you make them. You feel close and connected to this person. But as these fears mount, there's a couple different ways that this can go. One, which is unfortunately very common, is that they cheat. They cheat to create emotional distance between you and them because it is really hard to have emotional intimacy with a person that is actively betraying you. So they cheat to get that validation and to create distance because when their fears have been triggered, those fears of betrayal, they start to seek emotional distance in the relationship and withdraw emotionally from their partner to keep themselves safe because closeness equals betrayal, it equals hurt in their subconscious mind, so distance feels safe. Now, not all fearful avoidants will cheat, but the ones that lean dismissive are far more prone to it. And as the relationship progresses, especially in the commitment phase of a relationship, is when they are most likely to cheat. Plus, they are deeply insecure, and that external validation and that dopamine they get from the cheating will help them temporarily feel better about themselves, but in the long run feel worse because it confirms their own inner shame and that I'm a bad person feeling. Now, when it comes to exiting the relationship, it can go one of two ways here. They slow fade out. That is a very common way. They just slowly become less affectionate, less involved in the relationship. And you can feel them pulling away, but every time that you ask them if everything's fine, they tell you everything is fine. There's nothing to worry about. We're good. I'm just busy at work or something like that. But you can feel them disconnecting from you and they won't communicate with you. Back in childhood, they had their feelings dismissed and rejected. So they really struggled to communicate their feelings and needs in a relationship, often adopting the you should just know mindset. If you really love me, you should just know what I need. You should just know how I'm feeling. Well, nobody's a mind reader, and all that does is it builds up to resentment and disconnect. But it's how they justify their lack of communication so they don't have to actually communicate, which triggers their fears. Or the most painful way is the abrupt discard. You might be a year or two into this relationship. Everything feels wonderful. You feel like you really have your forever person. And then one day they are shut down, deactivated, stone cold, pushing you away, abruptly discarding you. And that's it. They're gone. If they do the abrupt discard, yes, it's possible that they can come back, but the odds aren't always good. This person is completely deactivated. They have convinced themselves that you are going to betray them. They're blaming everything on you to avoid that shame and that accountability within themselves. And that's it. They're full dismissive avoidant at this point, and you are just trying to pick up the pieces of your shattered heart. Healthy partners do not abruptly blindside someone in a relationship, especially a year or two into it. If there are issues in the relationship or concerns, the healthy partner will communicate those to you. It won't be a shock. If you are showing up as a healthy, loving partner and you got blindsided or slow faded out on, it's not you. You're not responsible for their lack of communication. Even if you weren't perfect in the relationship, you still didn't make them not communicate. A healthy person will communicate these issues to work on it, because no relationship is perfect, but there's never an opportunity to work on things without communication. In addition to the fears of betrayal, they may have been building up resentment against you too because they weren't communicating their needs. But again, that is on them, not you. Now, of course, if somebody has to abruptly end a dangerous or unsafe relationship, that's not a discard. That is protecting yourself. But when it's an unhappy, seemingly healthy relationship and it abruptly ends without communication, that's a reflection of the person doing the discard, not a reflection of the person being discarded. So don't beat yourself up. You're not responsible for their lack of communication. You're not responsible for their emotional unavailability. Don't blame yourself. Blaming yourself just perpetuates your own anxiety and heartache and makes it harder to get over this person. Their unhealthy behavior, the unhealthy way they ended the relationship, that's the closure. That is your answer. It's not the answer you want, but it's the answer you got. Be kind to yourself and recognize that you don't deserve that, because you wouldn't do it to your partner and you don't deserve it being done to you.